Isiah Pacheco, if you haven't heard already, has undergone two off-season surgeries. In the AFC Championship game of last year, he actually suffered a wrist fracture, more specifically something closer, carpal bone closer to his thumb. And then also, it was not indicated when he suffered a shoulder labral tear within the season. And so the week after the Super Bowl itself, he actually underwent a surgery operation with an orthopedic specialist to repair the fracture upon the carpal bone. Normally what they do there is they make an incision, more specifically on the site that's fractured, and then they're going to provide some sort of screws fixation or ultimately some wiring in and around that carpal bone to bring stability within that wrist. That is to ensure that he doesn't have any future complications and continues to have a successful return to sport. I'm not too worried about the wrist itself, more specifically because that usually takes about 3 to 5 months to recover, and that puts him in enough timeline to return. The one that I am really concerned about is ultimately the shoulder labral tear and repair. Return to play for that sort of condition takes anywhere between 6 to 9 months. There was no indications on what type of tear actually took place in the shoulder itself. There are ultimately different types of tears, specifically on the labrum. The labrum has different attachment sites, specifically for the bicep, some other soft tissue in and around there, and it's actually a glue for that humerus or that arm bone to stay connected to there, which is ultimately leading to some shoulder stability. And so when there is a disruption to the labrum, you have instability and could have possibly some shoulder, we call it dislocations or subluxations. And so I don't suspect that they're going to rush his progression timeline. When you're looking at the labral repair, these surgeries were done in about mid-February to late February. And so if we're looking at that timeline of 6 to 9 months, in August, that puts him at 6 months, September, 7 months, and so on and so forth. And so when you're looking at sort of the recovery timeline for that, anywhere between 7 to 12 weeks is when they start to do any type of strengthening within the shoulder itself. Make sure that he's got full range of motion, no setbacks, no particular pains or conditions, unforeseen circumstances. And then anywhere between 14 to 26 weeks, he's going through some sort of advanced strengthening and then plyometric training within 14 to 26 weeks as well. That's where he's doing a lot of powerful movements. And then ultimately we're looking at return to play 6 to 9 months later. And so, Andy Reid has already come out and say that he could possibly land on the PUP list. That again is a very good possibility that he ends up on the PUP list in the month of August, or at least in July for the full training camp, and August through preseason, and then see if he's ultimately activated